When the Illinois Central first came to this area on the prairie in the summer of 1853, they built infrastructure. They needed a freight house, a passenger house, hotel with eating house, an express building, a baggage shed, a telegraph office, and a water tower, all within close proximity of each other. But a devastating fire on February 20th, 1885 would destroy almost everything, except the freight house and barely the express office. The heart of Mendota had to undergo a transplant, but it would take a few years until the 1888 depot was to be built. Only a handful of photographs existed before 1880. Digging deep into these photographs, the maps, books and newspapers, and even the earth itself can give us a clearer picture of early Mendota. I had a quest to do my best to reveal a glimpse into that time before the 1888 era when the new Union Depot was built. I was bound and determined to resurrect the story of the old passenger house and even unearth the burnt brick and remnants buried for over 135 years. This is a very historic spot. Historic figures such as Abraham Lincoln, Stephen Douglas, Ulysses Grant, Wild Bill Hickok, Chief Shabanaw, Frederick Douglass, and more would have been customers at the Illinois Central Passenger House and of its railroad. In my quest to know more about what the heart of Mendota looked like in the beginning, my research has led me to draw this illustration, and I want to share with you how I came to this conclusion. Photographs after 1888 would show an area in the foreground void of any buildings. The ruins of the passenger house, telegraph office, and baggage shed were buried 2 to 3 feet deep. The bricks and pieces of the old infrastructure of the IC were someday to see the light of day again. Handling those items would be going back in time to the beginning of Mendota, shortly after Timothy B. Blackstone laid out the town in 1853. The more time that went by, the more bare the land would get. The Union Depot would be torn down in 1942, except for the north end, which is our passenger depot and railroad museum today. In the 1980s, the second Railway Express Agency building would be torn down, and all that remained on the 2.5 block area was a rundown depot close to being torn down itself. With all the information I had gathered from my resources, a clearer picture emerged. I had to somehow make it even clearer for myself and others in future generations so they would be familiar with what Mendota looked like in the central heart of town. Now I want to show you how I have come to this point in my journey, how I have come to the conclusions of the layout of the land in this so important area. First of all, let's take a look at the area I'm talking about, just in case you are not seeing it. The Railway Express Agency building was near where our CB&Q 4978 locomotive sits today. From there to 6th Street is where we will examine together what was there. Let's start with the photographs, because photos don't lie, at least not back then. First is this view of the passenger house, looking east with the north end of the IC freight house just barely in view. So we know it to be close in distance. These other views of the passenger house reveal a lot of information too. This one here with the CB&Q train shows the different rooftops. I count 3 here, and then behind, out of sight, is the baggage shed, which was abutted right up against the passenger house. We have a shot looking north down the Illinois Central tracks, showing how wide the platform is and how long it was. And we also see the telegraph office in plain view, and we also see that baggage room right next to the passenger house. And please note that the pictures reveal that the outside of the passenger house was a lighter color, so that's why I go with the light cream beige color, a little yellow, because that was the very first brick I found over there in that area. And then I've been finding light colored outside surface of brick too. Here's another view showing the park, and you can see how far the railroad park extended along Main Street. In this view here, it's looking down Washington Street from the west. And just looking at it, you say, well, okay, wow, look at all those buildings along the street there. But if you really go deep into the photograph and you zoom in, you can see that there's a building beyond the dock of the Illinois Central Freight House, and that is the Railway Express building. And it shows a dark color. So my guess, only a guess, was that it was a red. Could have been a deep green, a dark green, or a deep red. But I do not think it was black. But we know it was a very, very dark color with white trim. And then in the distance, the St. James Hotel appears to be painted white. And it was painted white even in the earlier photograph I showed you at the start. Let's take a look at some 1885 Sanborn maps to see where they drew the buildings to be. Sanborn maps are detailed for fire insurance companies to assess the risk of insuring buildings. They show details such as building materials, brick or wood. Brick was indicated by red color and wood yellow. Blue was for water tanks. They also contained measurements of buildings. To maintain our west-east perspective, I will position the maps accordingly with the top looking east. The red rectangle on the right is the Illinois Central Freight House, with the park along Main Street ending in the middle of Jefferson Street. Across from the park Across the tracks, the ruined foundation of the passenger house, which, according to Mendota reporter papers, was 125 feet by 40 feet. Above the brick freight house, across the tracks, is the baggage shed, which was shared by the Illinois Central and the CB&Q, the telegraph office, another storage shed, and the express office far right, all wood structures. Notice the wood structure left of the ruined foundation. That was a temporary structure quickly assembled to accommodate the traveling public until a new depot was to be built. And that was not completed until 1888, 3 years after the fire. And the city did complain about the heap of rubble and brick that was in the center of Mendota, in the center of town. I'm sure a lot of people carried off as many bricks through those years as they could. This Sanborn map is dated June 1885. The express office is where our gate tower sits today and where our rail cam is. A water tower was right next to the Railway Express building, and then there was 6th Street. The lower left-hand corner is the freight house, and the dashed line is the loading dock. The flagman's house was across 6th Street and was a small structure according to the Sanborn map. The area marked photo refers to a photograph that was taken of the building or area in question. I wish I could find that photograph. Notice the wood dock that surrounds the Illinois Central Freight House. It was the hub for freight coming and going. Freight cars on the east side and horse-drawn dray wagons on the north, south, and west side. At the bottom, the opening on the right would be 6th Street, and the one on the left, Washington Street. Going back to this view is a wooden railroad car shed in the upper left view. It's a rather long building. And the IC water tower is in line with Jefferson Street, which both can be seen in the photographs of after the fire. Therefore, I have come to conclude that according to the Sanborn maps, the handful of photos we have at the Museum of the Passenger House, the old Sun Bulletin newspapers, and brick remnants, this is as close to what it looked like as I can get at this time. Colors can vary, of course, of the different buildings. And let me also add, if I haven't already, that the flagman's house was across 6th Street, close to the junction where both railroads crossed. He would flag trains to stop or proceed. Maybe it was his job also to guard the crossing for pedestrians and horse-drawn wagons and carriages. Nevertheless, the Sanborn map shows a smaller structure. So be sure to visit our historic museum, built in 1888, and walk the grounds of the Illinois Central Railroad. Stand where Lincoln and Stephen Douglas and Ulysses Grant stood to board the trains here. On the grounds I have also marked all the sites of the buildings with bricks with white lettering on them. If you would like a copy of my drawing, please let me know. I'm only going to make so many enlargements and only 50 5x7s. We have them available at the museum, or you can purchase them from me.